Let's start the conference regarding the worldwide sourcing. Today, what we're going to do, we're going to see firstly, the worldwide export key figures in order to see what are clearly the key producing countries, who suffered, who not. Then we will focus on the European and the USA imports. After we were gonna do a kind of focus on the raw material shortage, all the prices, and what is the level of sustainable fabric we're gonna use in the future. And then we call it the new normal because we have to face many issues regarding the supply chain disruption. So now there is no, it's not a novelty to deal with the transport crisis, the inflation, the conversion rates, again, the supply chain disruption. So we call it the new normal. So let's start with key figures given by the United Nations. It's quite interesting to see that China, regarding the textile and the garment industry, we are really focusing on China, is still increasing, for figures in 2020, 2021. And regarding consumption, the USA market is clearly decreasing. But then I will show you one of my favorite fabric. It is the apparel and textile export for between 2020 and 2021. And you see clearly, the rising of, China. China is clearly decreasing, these past 10 years, but still we have a huge gap for 2021, and it reached to 1,023 billion. And what about the other countries? As you see, surprisingly, now Vietnam is really higher than Bangladesh and reached $28 billion. So this is quite huge. And just followed by Bangladesh. Yes, Bangladesh is the second one, really after the Vietnam. And you can also focus on the Cambodia market. How about the Cambodia market? Clearly, you can see that since the end of the GSP+, we have a decrease of the Cambodia market because, of course, they cannot use, the 10% free trade agreement they used to play with. Regarding India, you will see in 2020 they suffered a lot about, of course, the COVID crisis. There was a huge disruption of the Indian supply chain. This is why the gap is so huge. Indonesia is really quite stable, and it is mainly due to key consumer, let's say, Adidas, Nike, and so on. Then let's focus on Pakistan. You can see that Pakistan is really rising, let's say, these past 5 years. Why? Because they also had a kind of, they just joined also the GSP+, let's say, agreement, and this is why they are really rising. And Myanmar, despite the fact that they are not having the GSP+ anymore, they are quite okay regarding their exports. Then let's talk about Turkey. I'm sure you know that Turkey is now facing a huge inflation. The inflation in Turkey is around 88% for this year. So this is extremely crazy, let's say. And this is why we have this gap regarding the export. And also now big buyers from Europe are trying to find other sources in order to have a backup because of the Turkey market. Portugal is quite increasing thanks to all the relocation and all the port transport crisis and the cost of transport, from Asia to Europe. And let's say that Morocco and Tunisia are really suffering, and even Romania as well. So now let's go a little bit deeper. This is also a slide I like to show. Clearly, in 2020, we were like sure rest of Asia will exceed, export of China. But surprisingly, because of the COVID, clearly the COVID slowed down the process. And now China, is quite strong regarding export. You see that the Euromed, Turkey, Morocco, Tunisia, Egypt, are quite stable, let's say, on these past few years. Regarding the European export in 2022, of course, it's an estimate because we still need 1 month in order to have like a full visibility of the European export. What do we have? We have a strong increase of 30%, but it is only in value. If we focus about quantity, it's only a 3% quantity. And I have to say that for 2023, most probably we will have like a strong decrease because most of the buyers today are clearly decreasing their order for 2023. And why they are decreasing their order? Because firstly, during 2021, beginning of 2022, many buyers made some huge orders in order to secure their business because we had a so huge disruption of the supply chain. So every buyers create a kind of buffer. And now sales are not so high. And also, so many brands have stocks. So this is why we have we're gonna get a strong decrease in 2023. So if we look in detail what happened during 2017 and 2021, what can we see? You can see that there is like a kind of decreasing trends regarding China, that Turkey is still there. What is surprising is you see that Vietnam is quite strong, but in the future, most probably Vietnam will be at the same level of Turkey. Cambodia is clearly decreasing, clearly. Why? Because, again, because of the free trade agreement, which is no longer the case between Cambodia and Europe. And you see that Pakistan is rising again. If we look, just a quick glance about who is doing what and what is specialty of the country. You see that, of course, Cambodia is really, really strong in it. Which is not the case of Morocco and Tunisia, for example, which are clearly focused on woven. If we look at 2022 garment imports, for Europe, so there's nothing there. Okay, so I will stop to to focus on the screen okay, it's back again. What can we see? So this is an interesting graph because in this graph we can see two things. First of all, again, of course, we have like a big gap from China, from Bangladesh, from Turkey. Regarding the increase in value. But if we're looking for prices, then we can totally feel what was, the effect of the inflation. So you can see that China, the increase is 19%. It is, of course, mainly due to, first of all, the inflation and the transportation cost, during 2021 and beginning of 2022, and also the conversion rate between euro and dollar. This is why we have huge increase for China, 19%, Bangladesh, 26%, and we can also see Cambodia, 19%. All Asian countries suffered from this conversion rate and so on, and we have this kind of crazy increases of prices. So let's focus on the French imports. Why I'm playing with French imports? Because if we want to go a little bit more in detail, especially from one product to another, then we can really play with French figures. So as you can see, it is very close to European figures, but then let's see what we can do. First of all, of course, because of long tradition or long partnership between Morocco, Tunisia, and France, of course, Morocco and Tunisia are quite well positioned in this graph as well. Here we have like the French garment export for 2020, 2021, and December 2021, November 2022. What we can see clearly, as you see, same thing as for European price, we have like, I mean, the gap for quantity is much lower compared to value. And if we are looking closely about the index, I mean, this in quantity and the index in value, you can see that in quantity we have like only an increase of 12% for 2022 compared to 2021, for example, for China, and 20% for Bangladesh. And in value, it would have been like 44%. So clearly, we could get, we have like a real effect of the, let's say, the inflation on prices. And also, something we didn't mention regarding inflation is also price of cotton, of course. Previously, we had like a huge cotton, I mean, the rate for cotton was quite crazy up to, let's say, mid-2022. Now it is, I mean, much more, I mean, much lower, thankfully. But this also contributes highly about this really high price we have to do, we can see. So as I said, I play with the cotton t-shirt imports because it is a quite precise category. And let's, the first graph is in value and the second one is in quantity. But then I can calculate, I mean, the average price per origin. And you can see, first of all, I mean, in black, this is the average price per country. For example, 219 for Bangladesh, 543 for China, for example. And you have like the real inflation, I mean, regarding prices and so on. So we are sure, I mean, if we want to compare something which can be easily comparable, let's say, we can focus on, let's say, a simple product such as the cotton in t-shirt, the t-shirt in cotton, sorry. And as you see, like Bangladesh, we have like an increase of 17%. If we're looking for Portugal, we have like an increase of 24% in 2021 compared to 2020. So yes, we have like a huge increase. Okay, I've got like the same thing for jeans, but let's focus a little bit more on the US imports. Yes, similar things for the US. We have also an increase of 25%, also mainly due to, first of all, increase of all the supply chain, so the transportation. Then all the dyeing parts increase a lot. And we have as well, I mean, they have to deal also with the increase of cotton, even if they produce a lot of cotton. So an increase of 25%, and you see that it is almost back to normal regarding the volume, what they used to import. If, if we look closely about US apparel imports, first things we can focus on, we have like a huge decrease of Chinese orders. Why? I mean, because of like the Chinese various Trump communication, and this is also why they made whatever it's possible to, how could I say that, to push orders from China to Vietnam. This is why we have like a huge increase of Vietnam imports compared to China imports. As you can see, Bangladesh is quite weak compared to Europe. And we have also just a small presence of neighborhood countries, such as like Mexico, Honduras, and El Salvador. All of them suffered a lot about the COVID situation and so on. But now it is, let's say, much more stable. And last figures we just get like recently, you see that despite of like this communication on the Chinese like imports, we can clearly see that China imports are really rising in China for 2022. Same thing for Vietnam and Bangladesh. But don't forget that we have like a huge increase of inflation. This is why every country have like a kind of rising imports things. So, raw material shortage and price increase. First of all, let's focus on our consumption regarding fiber. As you see, I mean, in 2030, we're gonna have like 17 kilo per person regarding fiber compared to, let's say, 1975, 8. So you can see the huge consumption we're gonna have, I mean, per person regarding fiber. And if we are looking closely regarding consumption and how the market is divided, clearly, I mean, synthetic fiber is like representing like 64%, natural fiber 25%, and only 2% for animal fiber. What we have also to focus on is really the rising, I mean, production regarding polyester, polyamide, etc. Really, we have like triple, I mean, the volume of all this synthetic and artificial fiber. So we really have to take that in account. Then I took this slide from Textile Exchange because I thought it was quite interesting. And it is said that fabric considered as sustainable could be up to 27%. So this is quite positive. And also, I'm sure you're aware of, for example, the AGEC law, I mean, in France. And it will be also mandatory for other European countries very soon, I mean, next year, I think. And now we have to have, like, either, like, let's say, reshoring, I mean, yeah, reshoring production, or we have to put some recycled fiber in our production in order to consider them as sustainable. Otherwise, it will be difficult for brands to continue to produce, I mean, in Far East country without any sustainable fabric in it. US consumption, this is like figures we have to take in account. US consumption really fell last September. So it is a signal we have to take in account. And if we look closely, really we have like a huge, huge fall. You see as, I mean, the consumption is really decreasing. And most, Chinese imports totally disappeared. This is, I mean, something we need to take in account, that every country which were like traditionally imports many US cotton, and I mean, I'm talking about Vietnam, I'm talking about China, etc., etc. Really, they are decreasing their consumption. So what does it mean? That means that, as I said earlier, we have like, let's say, a decrease regarding orders from buyers. This is exactly the same. I mean, this is the same trends regarding Chinese imports dropped. Cotton price evolution, I'm sure you're aware of it. We know it by heart. Now the current rate is 0.83, and we reached last July 1.39. Clearly, we can breathe again now, because with the price of 1.39, we had many production in polyester, in shops, and so on. So it was not so nice to see, and not so sustainable as well. The fact is, we don't know where we are going regarding the price of cotton. Most probably because we have like a lower demand regarding production and so on. We're gonna have like a stability regarding cotton price, even if the production of cotton for this let's say semester is a little bit lower. Just a quick look that surprisingly for August, October, and December, now US cotton price are lower than, for example, India, China, or Brazil cotton price. They try to, let's say, not break the market, but almost. And now they really need, let's say, to sell all their cotton. Post-COVID and inflation, what could we get? First of all, transportation costs almost back to normal. Thanks God, yes. So we had a huge increase, I mean, regarding cost of transport. I'm sure you are fully aware of it. Officially, it reached like 20,000 euro per container, but non-officially, let's say 25,000 euro. Now we have like a container around, let's say, 6,000 euro, even sometimes 4,000 euro. So it's like, yeah, we can breathe again, I mean, regarding transportation costs and so on. We have a kind of reshoring, and we can also talk about friendshoring. I was quite amazed when I discovered this kind of thing. We are not talking only about reshoring, but friendshoring. What does it mean? We have really, because of the disruption of the supply chain, the fact that it is quite difficult to have a clear vision of what we're gonna get. If we need to decrease or increase very quickly our orders or whatsoever, we need to really count on our suppliers. This is why we have these trends of reshoring. And yes, we have a kind of friendshoring. And yes, we have a kind of reshoring, especially for small brands. But still, we are like facing some issue because of the cost, of course, and because of all the inflation, it is difficult to manage. I mean, retail price we used to provide. Yeah, today's supply chain challenge, I would say, I mean, for everybody. Of course, we have geopolitical uncertainty with what's happened with the Russian war, with the situation with Taiwan, with what happened in South America. I mean, we have like many uncertainty to face off. Extreme weather. We have like minus 40 degrees currently, I think, in USA and in Canada. So this is also something we need to take in account in order to yeah, for our supply chain and so on. And we can talk also about the flood in Pakistan. 1/3 of the country was underwater. We have, of course, this rising cost of living, and this rising cost of living push our consumer to focus, let's say, on expense such as, let's say, energy, transportation, or like rental cost, let's say. And of course, furniture, fashion, restaurants, all these kind of expense really suffer because of the rising cost of living. And we have, unfortunately, a real cost of food shortage, especially in China, in Africa, because of the issue of fertilizer. You know, fertilizer were used to be produced, I mean, in Russia. And so now countries are really suffering because of this fertilizer issue. And also because of the production of cereal, of course, in Ukraine. So if we want to sum up the situation of the new normal, let's say, in the textile and garment industry, first of all, what do we have? We have like the inflation, the crazy inflation in Turkey, let's say 88%, and let's say 10 to 15% in Europe. We have, like, thankfully, a transportation back to normal, I mean, especially for sea transportation, because if we are talking about truck transportation, we have an increase of 30%. Then we have, like, sales, garment sales in France. They just announced that we're going to have, like, a 4% decrease compared to 2021. So yes, we have like a decrease of minus 4% due to the cost of living. We have like an improvement, a huge improvement of the global supply chain, especially, I'm not talking about transport, I'm talking about production of, for example, components, dyeing house, yarn, etc. Now, almost all these different steps are almost back to normal. So thankfully we had this improvement. We still have to manage, of course, consequences and situation of the Ukraine and Russian war. We now have to deal with the AGEC law. AGEC law, what does it mean? I mean, for the textile industry, companies up to 15 million euro will have to share with consumer all the different steps of their supply chain. So where this, for example, where the yarn come from, when the knit or the woven come from, where the product have been stitched, etc., etc. So we are not only put like only a simple mating. Now we need to share the full visibility of the production. So it is a huge work for all companies, and even non-French companies will have to also cope with this, this situation. And again, it will be mandatory for other countries within 1 or 2 years. Cotton price instability. Okay, up to now we have like a 0.83 for cotton price, but let's see what we're gonna have. So all these situations, what do we have? We have a slowdown of the relocation in neighborhood countries. You know, just after the COVID, it was a huge, we had a huge interest in order to relocate part of the production in neighborhood country. And this is why we have like quite good figures, especially on the Turkish market. But because of the inflation on the Turkish market again, and production capacity, now what we have seen in September, many buyers in the plane in order to find some new sourcing, new suppliers in Asia in order to cope with this situation. Yes, we have an improvement of the supply chain, and also because of the lower of sales, now we have like huge stock, and this is why brand will decrease their order for 2023. We're going to have a huge drop for 2023, but let's say that mid 2023 and 2024, it will be, let's say, much better. We hope so. So, thank you for your attention, and if you have any question, please feel free to ask. Thank you.